The room felt smaller when she pulled her hand away. It was a quiet motion, quick as a flinch, but it carved a chasm between us. "Don't let them think we're a couple," Lauren whispered. Her voice sharp like a blade slipped between ribs. I froze, my fingers still curled in the air where her warmth had been. The murmur of the crowded cafe fading into a dull roar. My heart thudded, confused, as if it had tripped over her words. Them? Who was them? The baristas behind the counter? The strangers sipping lattes at nearby tables? Or someone else entirely? Someone I hadn't noticed watching us? I forced a smile, the kind you plaster on when you're trying not to shatter. "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked, keeping my tone light, teasing like we were still the couple who laughed over burnt toast on Sunday mornings. Her eyes darted away, catching the light from the cafe's Edison bulbs, and for a moment, I saw something flicker in them. Guilt, maybe, or fear. "Nothing," she said too quickly, tucking a strand of dark hair behind her ear. "Just don't make a scene, Tom." The cafe smelled of roasted coffee and cinnamon, a cozy haze that clashed with the cold knot forming in my chest. I leaned back in the wooden chair, its legs creaking under my weight, and studied her. Lauren's fingers toyed with the edge of her napkin, shredding it into tiny flakes. She'd been doing that a lot lately, fidgeting, avoiding my gaze, her phone always face down on the table like it was hiding something. I told myself it was stress. Her new job at the law firm, the late nights, the constant emails. But now, her words hung in the air like smoke, impossible to ignore. "Make a scene?" I echoed, my voice low, testing the waters. "Since when do I do that?" I reached for my coffee, the mug warm against my palms, grounding me as my thoughts spiraled. She didn't answer, just glanced at her watch, her lips pressing into a thin line. The watch was new, a sleek silver thing I didn't recognize. When had she gotten it? Why hadn't she mentioned it? "Let's just enjoy this, okay?" she said, her tone softer now, almost pleading. She gestured at the table, at the half-eaten pastries and the steam curling from our cups, like we could rewind to a moment when everything felt right. I nodded, but my eyes drifted to the window, where rain streaked the glass, blurring the world outside. A man stood under the awning across the street, his face shadowed by a hood. Was he watching us? I shook my head, dismissing the thought. I was being paranoid. But the unease lingered, a quiet hum beneath my skin. Over the past few weeks, Lauren had been different. Distant. Her laughter, once so easy, had grown rare, replaced by clipped answers and sighs. She'd started locking her phone, something she'd never done in our 6 years of marriage. I'd noticed, but I hadn't pushed. I told myself it was nothing, that love ebbs and flows, that we were just in a low tide. Now though her words, "Don't let them think we're a couple," felt like a tide pulling me under. The cafe door chimed, and a man in a gray suit stepped inside, shaking rain from his umbrella. Lauren's posture stiffened, her fingers pausing mid-shred on the napkin. I followed her gaze. The man didn't look at us, just ordered at the counter, but something about him felt familiar. The sharp cut of his jaw, maybe, or the way he carried himself like he owned the room. "You know him?" I asked, keeping my voice casual. "No," she said too fast, her eyes flicking back to me. "Why would I?" I shrugged, but my pulse quickened. She was lying. I could feel it, the way you feel a storm before the first drop falls. I wanted to press her, to demand answers, but the cafe was too public, the air too thick with the chatter of strangers. Instead, I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the table. "You've been off lately," I said, choosing my words carefully. "Everything okay at work?" Her smile was tight, practiced. "It's just busy, Tom. You know how it is." I didn't know. Not really. She'd always been private about her work, but lately, it was like she'd built a wall around it. Meetings that ran late. Weekend trips she called team building. Texts she'd answer in another room. I'd rationalized it all. Trust, I told myself, was the foundation of us. But now, that foundation felt like it was crumbling. The man in the gray suit took a seat near the window, his back to us. Lauren's eyes flicked to him again, just for a second, but it was enough. My stomach twisted. "Lauren," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "What's going on?" She sighed, a sound heavy with exasperation. "Nothing's going on. God, Why do you always have to make everything a big deal? Her words stung, but it was her tone that cut deeper, defensive, almost accusing. I leaned back, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. The cafe seemed to shrink again, the walls pressing in, the hum of conversation now a distant buzz. I wanted to believe her, to cling to the life we'd built, the late-night talks, the way she'd hum off-key in the shower, the promises we'd made under a starlit sky. But doubt was a splinter, working its way deeper with every glance she avoided. I stood up, my decision sudden, impulsive. I need some air, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. She didn't stop me, didn't even look up as I grabbed my coat and stepped into the rain. The cold bit at my skin, but it was a relief, a distraction from the ache in my chest. I crossed the street, my boots splashing in puddles, and glanced back at the cafe. Through the streaked window, I saw Lauren pull out her phone, her fingers moving quickly, her face illuminated by the screen's glow. And then I saw him, the man in the gray suit. He'd turned in his seat, his eyes locked on her, a small smile playing on his lips. My breath caught, the world tilting beneath me. I knew that smile. I'd seen it before, in a photo she'd shown me months ago, laughing it off as just a colleague. The rain soaked through my jacket, but I didn't move. My mind raced, piecing together the fragments. Her late nights, the locked phone, the new watch, the way she'd flinched from my touch. I wanted to storm back inside, to confront them both, to demand the truth. But my feet stayed rooted, heavy with the weight of what I already knew. I pulled out my phone, my hands trembling as I opened our shared cloud account. I'd never snooped before, never felt the need. But now, I scrolled through her recent uploads, my heart pounding. There it was, a photo, time-stamped last weekend, when she'd said she was at a conference. Lauren laughing, her head tilted against his shoulder. The man in the gray suit. The world blurred, rain mixing with the tears I hadn't realized were falling. I stood there, drenched and broken, as the truth settled like a stone in my gut. She hadn't just betrayed me, she'd rewritten our story, erased me from it. I looked back at the cafe, at the life I thought we had, and made a choice. I wouldn't confront her. Not yet. I'd let her think I was still in the dark, let her carry the weight of her secrets a little longer. But when the time came, I'd be the one to walk away.